My name is Jade, female, 12 years old, and the village is Exorcist. Everyone, young and old, male and female, within a 10-mile radius, respectfully calls me Granny 9. This is because I am ranked 9th under the King of Hell and the City God, and Jong Kui, Kuyu, Oxhead and Horseface, and the black and white guards of impermanence are all my brothers. When I was 3, the Wei Tuo statue in the temple collapsed, breaking my legs and leaving me disabled, confined to a wheelchair for life. At this moment, I stand before a dark, ominous coffin. Around me, 7 or 8 grieving relatives of the deceased, wearing mourning cloths and coarse garments, trembled with terror. The reason for their horror was that what lay inside the coffin was not a human corpse, but a fat pig, its belly slit open and entrails removed. Simultaneously, the 7 soul-suppressing nails on the coffin, symbolizing the Big Dipper, had an 8th added. Today was the funeral of the old village chief. He had lived a benevolent life, never corrupt, always harmonious with his neighbors. While in office, he led villagers in planting fruit trees to prosper and contributed significantly to water control. He lived to be 93, dying peacefully in what should have been a joyful funeral. Yet, for such a virtuous man who brought blessings to the villagers, his mourning children and grandchildren discovered blood seeping from the coffin during the procession. They hastily opened it to look, and all were horrified. The village chief in the coffin had been transformed into a dead pig, disemboweled. Everyone, not daring to cause a commotion, quickly summoned me in my sedan chair. My custom-made sedan chair was entirely black. Its 6 sides, front, back, left, right, top and bottom, were adorned with colorful paintings depicting immortals, mortals, asuras, evil spirits, beasts, and hell, symbolizing the 6 paths of reincarnation. Arriving at the scene, I narrowed my eyes as I looked at the coffin. The pungent aura of both human and animal corpses permeated the air. Granny 9, what should we do now? The auspicious hour is almost past, and my father's body is nowhere to be found. Should we proceed with this funeral or not? The speaker was the village chief's eldest son, Liu Ming, kneeling on the ground, his face pale with terror. The moment he spoke, the 7 or 8 blood relatives nearby all looked at me in unison. Funerals, weddings, and other joyful or somber events all attach great importance to auspicious hours. This means these events are best performed within specific time frames. Missing the hour is absolutely forbidden. Missing the hour would surely bring unrest to the household, disturbing even chickens and dogs. Burial, I mused. Burial is for the person, not just a ritual. Now, there isn't even a person in the coffin. How can we perform the burial? Hearing my words, he quickly bowed his head, not daring to ask further. I counted on my fingers, sensing the daily celestial clash, and my heart sank. These 2 days did not conflict with the village chief's birth and death deities. There was still time. I instructed them to prepare another coffin and place it in the center of the house, re-establishing the mourning hall as if nothing had happened today. The chief's body must be found before noon tomorrow. Then the burial could proceed. Hearing this, The children and grandchildren, wearing mourning cloths and straw hats, looked at each other. What if it isn't found? The question came from Liu Kui, the chief's third daughter, who had been married for 20 years. Rumor had it she married well, into a wealthy family. For this funeral, she was responsible for the expenses, while her eldest brother, Liu Ming, and second brother, Liu Wang, only contributed later. I glanced at the peace amulet around her neck and spoke softly. The village chief was a kind man in life. Everyone knows that. To meet with this calamity after death, to have his body unfound, means his soul would have no dwelling, no spiritual abode. He would become a wandering ghost. In this situation, if his children and grandchildren still do nothing, you will all face one outcome. I swept my gaze over everyone present, my voice cold. Your families will be ruined. The moment my words finished, 2 candles before the coffin suddenly extinguished. After I instructed people to burn the coffin, the dead pig, and the mourning hall, they set up another set. The village chief was a respected man in the village, so preparing everything anew was not too difficult. But that night, in the new mourning hall with the new coffin, I sent everyone else away, keeping only the 3 Liu siblings who were in charge of the affairs. Granny Nine, aren't you going to find my father's body? How can we find it if you tell us to stay here? Liu Wang, the second son, seemed displeased. His eldest brother, Liu Ming, and youngest sister, Liu Kui, remained silent. I lit 2 red candles beside the coffin, turned my wheelchair, and gazed coldly at the 3. The village chief's body disappearing without a trace was not a coincidence. Someone orchestrated this. The coffin was swapped. According to custom, just before burial, the coffin lid must be sealed to prevent disturbing the returning spirit of the deceased, and relatives need not stay up to watch over it. Someone exploited this custom to swap the coffin. But whether it was removing the chief or placing a dead pig in the coffin, the disturbance created would not have been small. Therefore, to steal the body without anyone, human or ghost, knowing there was only one way, to steal the entire coffin. Hearing this, the 3 trembled, their faces filled with disbelief. My father worked hard his whole life. Someone still wants to harm him? Granny Nine, just name the culprit, and I'll bury him alongside my father. Wang immediately flared up. He was an uneducated man in his 30s or 40s, covered in tattoos and fond of gambling. Liu Ming, the eldest, lacked the composure of an elder brother, his face confused, unsure what to do. The calmest was Liu Kuitart. Second brother, don't get agitated. Let Granny Nine finish speaking. She furrowed her brows and pursed her lips, looking at me. Her eyes, though panicked, held more anger. Once the 3 were silent, I spoke again. No one knew. Okay, Tom Day. A normal coffin has only 7 soul-suppressing nails, symbolizing the Big Dipper. But on the coffin today, I found 8 nail holes. 7 soul-suppressing nails. Not one more, not one less. Otherwise, it's a grave disrespect to the deceased, a major taboo. Furthermore, a coffin that has held a body for several days would inevitably have some dampness inside, and the wood grain would be darker. But the coffin today clearly lacks this characteristic. This proves that this coffin was swapped. Yana, on. And to do this smoothly, it absolutely cannot be an outsider, but rather someone from the family. So, Granny Nine's implication is that this happened among us 3 siblings. Liu Wang glanced at me a few times, a flicker of impatience and mockery appearing on his face. Liu Ming also hurriedly said, "Granny Nine, these words are not to be joked about. Why would we take our father's body?" Liu Ku merely looked at me silently, pondered for a few seconds, then unconsciously moved a few steps away, saying nothing. An ordinary corpse is, of course, useless. But the village chief was a man of deep blessings, with a prominent fortune mound on his forehead, a full glabella, well-fleshed limbs, and no signs of decay. Such a body has immense utility, whether used to invigorate a family home, or by some evil practitioners for refinement, to absorb its essence for necromancy, it would be priceless on the market. As I spoke, I fixed my gaze on Liu Wang. "What did you do last night? Are you suspecting me? Stop talking nonsense, answer first. Cooperate well, and I will help you investigate. Don't cooperate, and I will leave now. In any case, when karma strikes, it won't be me who suffers." Hearing my words, Liu Wang's face darkened. He glanced at the village chief's portrait, then gritted his teeth and said, "Last night, I played cards in the village. I only got back at 6 a.m. before dawn. I didn't see anyone up, but my brother's room light seemed to still be on. Since it wasn't time yet, I slept for a bit. My sister woke me up for the funeral. That's all." After speaking, Liu Wang unconsciously glanced at his eldest brother. I nodded, thought for a moment, then turned my gaze to Liu Ming. "Your turn." "Last night I slept at home, but I didn't get much sleep." Liu Ming said, wiping sweat from his forehead, his eyes avoiding mine. "Especially in the middle of the night, I heard noises in the courtyard. One voice sounded like a woman's. I couldn't sleep even more." As soon as he finished, Liu Ming unconsciously glanced at Liu Kui. Closer to dawn, I heard someone open the door downstairs. It was probably Wang returning. I woke up after 8 a.m., washed up, and received the relatives who came for the funeral. That's all. I nodded, turning my gaze to Liu Kui. This woman hadn't said much from beginning to end, but she seemed unconsciously trying to distance herself from her 2 brothers. She probably knew something. "I also didn't get much sleep last night," Liu Kui said. "I spent almost the entire night looking for my gold ring, engraved with a peony." "That ring was a wedding gift from my husband. I saw I've always worn it. These past few days, since I came home for the morning, I left it in my room and didn't wear it. Last night, I suddenly found it missing, so I turned my entire room upside down, searching all night. When I couldn't find it in the room, I called my husband, who was at a hotel in town, to ask if he'd seen it. In the end, I still couldn't find it. I then fell asleep and didn't hear any other noises. This morning, I woke up and called my second brother for the funeral. I also took the opportunity to ask him if he'd seen my ring. That's all. After listening, I looked at the three, let out a sigh, and my heart sank to the bottom of an abyss. This matter was more complicated than I thought. Someone was lying because that gold ring was now in my hand. I had found this ring in the coffin today, stained with pig's blood. No fingerprints were discernible anymore. But it was engraved with a peony and had size information. This was a woman's ring. Because there weren't many rooms in the village chief's house, and it was the night of the spirit's return, most people, other than the children, had stayed elsewhere. Only these three were in the house last night. So, initially, I suspected Liu Kuo, but now I frowned, turning my gaze to Liu Wang once more. Liu Wang frequently gambled at the private casino in the village. Everyone knew this. In his younger years, he wasn't clean either, having been a pickpocket elsewhere, arrested and jailed for 3 years. After his release, he lived a hooligan's life in the village, either drinking or gambling every day. Recently, rumor had it he had lost a lot of money. If not for the village chief's recent passing, creditors demanding payment would surely have been knocking on his door daily. If he did it, it could also explain why. Now, without capital, he couldn't even step foot into a casino. "Where did you get the money to gamble?" I asked Lu Wang in a low voice. "What's that got to do with you? Aren't we talking about my father's coffin? Wait, do you think I stole my sister's ring to gamble?" He glared at me, his eyes filled with anger. "You little girl, Jade. I respected you enough to call you Granny Nine. If not for that, you'd just be some brat. Damn you! Bang!" Before he could finish, Liu Wang flew backward, crashing hard into the wall. He cursed and tried to get up. I took a paper figure from my pocket and threw it onto his back. Theoretically, a paper figure is light as a feather, yet it weighed Liu Wang down so much he couldn't even move a finger. Next, I rolled my wheelchair in front of him, grabbed his neck with one hand, the other holding a burning incense stick, its tip 1/2 inch from his eye. He froze, his face immediately turning pale, his eyes wide with shock. I opened my spiritual sight, my pupils turning into black demon eyes. "Watch your mouth. I can kill ghosts and I can kill people." Understood? Liu Ming and Liu Kui finally reacted, suppressing their fear, and rushed to mediate. Liu Wang trembled. Understood. I was wrong. Please, spare my life, Granny Nine." I snorted coldly, released him, and slowly rolled my wheelchair back beside the coffin. The village chief treated me well when he was alive. Therefore, no matter which of you stole his body, I expect it to be returned before noon tomorrow. Tonight, his spirit will return one more time. Out of consideration for past kindness, I will let him come and go peacefully. But remember, I am giving you only one chance. Otherwise, this matter will not end without bloodshed and death. The three, awestruck by my overwhelming presence, bowed repeatedly, assenting. I then told Liu Ming and Lu Kui to leave the mourning hall, leaving only Liu Wang to kneel before the coffin. I then placed a paper figure with the chief's 8 characters, birth data, written on it into the empty coffin. Liu Wang no longer dared to speak insolently. He held 3 golden incense sticks, kneeling silently before the coffin, not daring to move. Later, if you hear anything, see anything, do not speak, do not stir. Just keep kneeling, hearing my words. Liu Wang nodded hastily, as obedient as a good student. 2 hours later, it was midnight. The night felt cold, and the house had grown much darker, the flickering candles about to die out. Liu Wang stood up to relight them. Suddenly, the morning hall door gently stirred, and a cold gust of air rushed into the house. Liu Wang's hand trembled. Of the 2 candles he held, only one lit. The other, no matter how hard he tried, wouldn't light. Granny 9. Liu Wang's voice was shaky. His lips trembled, his face white. I slowly opened my eyes. I saw an old white-haired man in mourning clothes standing behind Liu Wang. His eyes had no pupils, and his face was expressionless. The moment I opened my eyes, he turned to look at me. As if sensing something, Liu Wang looked down, only to see a pair of pale, wrinkled hands covering the candle wick. No wonder it wouldn't light. At that moment, his entire body began to tremble uncontrollably, his eyes pleading with me. I smiled, stepped forward, took the candle from his hand, and brought it close to the flame myself. Watching the candlelight, I spoke softly. Old chief, why are you still unhappy, with your children and grandchildren kneeling before you? Hearing this, Liu Wang, terrified, dropped to his knees, his legs turning to jelly beneath him. But at this moment, the old chief seemed to want to cling to him, pressing close to his back, even reaching out to embrace Liu Wang's neck. I want him to carry me for a bit, a cold, raspy voice transmitted. Go home, go upstairs, and look. Once you've seen, then depart in peace. Don't linger in the mortal realm. You are a man of deep blessings, and will surely be reincarnated soon. As I spoke, I took a handful of incense ash from the censer and scattered it on the ground. But he still gazed at me silently with his pupil-less eyes, showing no intention of leaving. I frowned. Old chief, do you have an unfulfilled wish? Granny 9, I think I already had a funeral, but why is no one here to receive me? Where is my resting place? Did my children not bury me? I need to know clearly. Old chief, you're mistaken. The funeral and burial are happening only today. Rest assured, I will make proper arrangements for you to smoothly descend. Hearing my words, he seemed bewildered. After a long while, he nodded. I believe what you say. Then he slowly climbed down from Liu Wang's back. At this point, since his spirit had left his body for several days, his remaining memories were few. He only remembered important things, such as his relatives and the way home. Other matters, whether from his life or after his death, were very difficult to recall. Liu Wang was sprawled on the ground, trembling uncontrollably, veins throbbing on his head, drenched in cold sweat, gasping for breath. The old chief wandered back and forth, examining the mourning hall. Deceiving a ghost was also my first time. I felt a bit ashamed. Seeing the old chief stand by the coffin, examining it for a long while, Before slowly departing, I breathed a sigh of relief. If we could just get past this, it would be fine. But just as he reached the threshold, preparing to leave, he suddenly stopped and turned around. No, that's not right. There should be two of us. The one in the coffin isn't me. Wow. Where is the other person? Hearing this, my eyelids twitched. I reached into my pocket, clutching a talisman. You said, "Where is the other person?" she said. Am I about to become a wandering ghost? I can't be reincarnated. No one is coming for me. Wow, I didn't do anything wrong. Why isn't anyone coming for me? In his pupil-less eyes, a trace of sorrow seemed to appear, and weeping immediately broke out. Upon closer inspection of his face, two faint reddish tear streaks appeared. Living soul, shedding blood, tears. He's about to turn into a weeping ghost. I must suppress him first. Used as the thought arose, the old chief seemed to sense it and quickly fled. I gritted my teeth. I had clearly tricked him, so why did he suddenly remember someone playing a ghost trick? Thinking this, I furiously turned around and grabbed Liu Wang, who was still terrified out of his wits. Did you steal the body? No. Granny Nine? It wasn't me. It really wasn't me. How could you gamble all night yesterday? Where did you get the money from? Did you steal Lu Kui's ring and then steal the body to exchange for gambling capital? Granny Nine, you wrong me. I swear on my life, I absolutely did not steal my sister's ring. I borrowed from loan sharks to gamble. The village casino can prove it. Besides, I gambled all night. How would I have time to steal a coffin? Seeing that his expression didn't seem to be lying, I pushed him away. Liu Wang knelt on the ground, repeatedly kowtowing to me. I really didn't steal my father's body to sell. I really didn't. How could I dare? Otherwise, I'll be struck down by heaven and earth. I know. It's my brother. Only he could make use of the ring and the body. Liu Wang suddenly shouted at me, his face filled with terror. I stared at him, telling him to continue. Liu Wang hastily recounted everything. His father-in-law had recently fallen ill and didn't have enough money for surgery. He stole the ring to gather money for the surgery. He also stole the body. He works at the crematorium and caused a mishap, spilling the ashes of a wealthy city merchant. He used someone else's ashes to fill in. Moreover, his superiors will be inspecting at the end of the month. The amount of ashes will definitely not match then. Once investigated, he's finished. He could steal my father's body to cremate and replace them. Only he could make use of the body. It must be him. This rogue's words had logic and evidence. As far as I knew, Liu Ming indeed worked at the crematorium in town. Furthermore, all the funeral arrangements, from choosing the plot, deciding on the coffin, preparing the feast, the burial, inviting the funeral procession, a series of procedures, were under his responsibility. He had the opportunity, the connections, and the means to handle coffins and corpses. While I was thinking, someone pushed open the morning hall door. The person who entered had a ghostly pale face, his eyes bloodshot. It was Liu Mingdat. The moment he entered, he knelt before me. Granny Nine, I'm done for. It was me. I just saw my father. He wanted to strangle me. I admit everything. I must have stolen it. Please save me." It turned out Liu Wang had guessed correctly. Later, through Liu Ming's account, I gradually learned why he stole the village chief's body and Lu Kuei's ring. Liu Ming had a disability in his eyes, so he also married a wife with a leg disability, much like me. The Disabled Persons Association assigned him to the crematorium to burn ashes, while his wife worked as a seamstress at home. A month ago, my father-in-law was diagnosed with a brain tumor. The tumor inside was almost the size of a fist. Even with reduced costs, they still needed 70 to 80,000 yuan. I didn't have enough money. My wife called me useless, and our children said they'd rather drop out of school to pay for their grandfather's treatment. Tell me, what was I to do? Liu Ming spoke, tears streaming down his face. Initially, Liu Ming had asked Liu Wang and Liu Kui for loans, but Liu Wang was a gambler, so poor he only had a few coins in his pocket. Liu Kui had a strained relationship with him from early on. He asked for a loan, but only got a few thousand yuan. Friends, colleagues, even distant relatives of his wife's family had all been asked, but it was still far from the surgery costs. Liu Ming was troubled by this. When working, he lost focus and made a mistake, spilling someone else's ashes. Although he used idle ashes from the unit to replace them, paper cannot conceal fire. At the end of the month, when his superiors inspected, it would definitely be exposed. At that time, he would not only have to pay compensation and go to jail, but his wife, children, and father-in-law would also be completely without care. Just then, his father, the village chief, passed away, and his sister, Liu Kui, came home. Seeing the gold ring, Liu Kui left in her room and his father's body. He devised a foolproof plan that could save himself and his family. That ring was so big and pure gold. Selling it would surely fetch a good sum. So, I stole my sister's ring, and I also stole my father's body. Last night, I really didn't sleep. I heard my sister on the phone, and after 3 a.m., I saw her room light go out. I then called 2 workers to the house to carry the coffin away. Liu Ming finished in a trembling voice. Liu Wang couldn't hold back, rushing forward and punching him to the ground. That's our father. Even if you die, you shouldn't do something like that. Hearing Liu Wang curse, Liu Ming, I felt that the matter was perhaps not so simple, and I involuntarily looked outside the mourning hall. To steal a body is one thing, but to disembowel a pig and put it in the coffin, is your father a pig? You are his children. In life, you receive no small amount of nurturing and care from your father. After death, you still want to drain the value from his corpse, even preventing him from resting peacefully, turning him into a wandering ghost. It is said, later, during festivals, your entire family will be worshipping a pig. Aren't you afraid your future generations will chop you into 100 pieces? Faced with my fury, no, Ming said nothing, only knelt on the ground, repeatedly kowtowing for forgiveness, saying over and over. Liu Wang furiously rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and wanted to hack Liu Ming to death. Granny Nine, don't stop me. He's worse than an animal. I told him to put the knife down first. Liu Wang gritted his teeth, threw the knife, and then kicked the tear streaked Liu Ming to the ground. Liu Ming had been beaten until his eyes bled, looking utterly wretched. Did you really cremate the chief's body? Where are the ashes then? I asked in a low voice. At the crematorium, I can go and get them. As he spoke, Liu Ming tried to stand up and leave. Wait, and the gold ring? I turned and stared at him. Liu Ming paused for a moment before replying. To gather money, I sold it. I looked at him, a cold laugh echoing in my heart. Very quickly, Liu Ming brought back an urn, claiming it contained the chief's ashes. He knelt on the ground, holding the urn of ashes, his face filled with reverence, but he dared not look at me, nor at his father's portrait. I remained silent for a long time, finally letting out a soft sigh. Having some ashes is better than none. Call everyone back. Let's proceed with the burial at Mao hour. 5:07 a.m. This matter should end now. It's more than an hour until Mao hour. Preparations must begin. To ensure a smooth burial, Liu Ming pleaded with me not to reveal this for now, promising he would voluntarily admit his wrongdoing later. The chief's relatives gradually returned. Although they all wore mourning clothes and straw hats, I saw no genuine grief on their faces. How fake. I stood in the mourning hall, gripping the gold ring in my pocket, and let out a heavy sigh as I looked at the chief's portrait. Thank you, Granny Nine, for helping us find our father's body. You are the great benefactor of our entire family. Please accept our bow. Liu Kui had appeared behind me at some point. I turned to find her neatly dressed, with Liu Wang, Liu Ming, and a group of relatives in mourning clothes and straw hats behind her. Without waiting for me to speak, she knelt, leading her entire family in kowtowing to me. I looked at her. The chief treated me well when he was alive, so naturally I must seek justice for him. Don't delay any longer. Let's go. At the first quarter of Mao hour, it was time to depart. The eldest son, grandson threw the auspicious basin, a ceramic basin used for burning joss paper and gold ingots, before the coffin. It shattered. The coffin bearers lifted the coffin, officially beginning the procession. I did not participate in the burial ritual, nor was it necessary for me to. In their eyes, the burial meant the matter was concluded. But for me, it was only just beginning. I was carried home in my sedan chair. That night, my door was pounded on. It was Liu Wang. George, behind him were 3 or 4 muscular young men, heavily tattooed, with knives tucked into their belts. Granny Nine, you were right. It was her. My father's body has been found. Liu Wang fell to his knees with a thud and instructed the young men to bring my sedan chair to take me down the mountain. They carried me to a main road on the outskirts of the village. In the middle of the road, a truck sat with its engine off. The young men dragged the driver to one side. Liu Kui was kneeling by the road, her hair disheveled and tied back. Lolly, Liu Ming also knelt. The truck bed was wide open, revealing half of an ominous black coffin. I used my wheelchair for support as I exited the sedan chair. Looking at the body in the coffin, I breathed a sigh of relief. The village chief was finally found. Why? I asked Liu Kui, who was kneeling on the ground, my voice low. Liu Kui remained silent. Yes, I let out a breath and slowly opened my palm before her. The gold peony ring, stained with blood, slowly appeared. Liu Ming and Liu Wang were stunned. Liu Qiu suddenly looked up, staring at me in disbelief. Wow. How is it in your hand? I toyed with the ring, speaking softly. I found this in the coffin. You used this ring to direct my suspicions towards Liu Wang. The moment you discovered the ring was missing, you wanted to do this, didn't you? Or did you deliberately place this ring there for me to find? Liu Kuo's head bowed even lower, not making a sound. That evening, when Liu Wang and I stayed in the morning hall, what did you say to Liu Ming? Promises of money or something else that made him disregard life and death, ignore the criticism of his descendants, and confess to your crime? The village chief was your blood father. Apart from the grace of raising you, he was at least the one who brought you into this world. What did he do wrong for you to treat him this way? Do you have any conscience left? My voice was cold. After reprimanding Liu Kui, I looked at Liu Ming, who was kneeling to one side. Oh, he trembled, sprawling on the ground. Granny Nine, it was all Liu Kui's doing. She promised me, told me if I took the blame, she'd give me $1 million. I was momentarily blinded by greed. That's why I lied like that. In truth, it had nothing to do with me from start to finish. He spoke, tears streaming down his face. I never touched my father's body from beginning to end. I didn't steal the ring either. I was wrong. I was wrong. Granny Nine, it really has nothing to do with me. He slapped. Liu Ming was met with a resounding slap from Liu Wang. Beat him for me. Today I consider this righteousness overriding kinship. The young man immediately kicked Liu Ming down. Liu Wang hit the hardest, as if he wanted to beat him to death. It has nothing to do with you? If you didn't know, then fine. But you knew. In front of so many relatives, you took fake ashes and buried them in the ancestral tomb. Liu Ming, even if I'm a mess and a gambler, I'm not a scoundrel like you. If our parents were looking down, what do you think they'd think? What do you think our Liu family ancestors would think? Useless, unfilial, inhumane, unrighteous, unfilial scum. I have no kinship with someone like you. You deserve to be beaten to death. Faced with Liu Wang's fury and Liu Ming, who was beaten half to death, I showed no pity. Two-faced hypocrites are the most detestable. Liu Kui glanced at her two brothers, showing no intention of begging for forgiveness. I grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at me. She trembled, her face filled with fear, but she clenched her teeth and said nothing. When Liu Ming told me he had sold the ring, I already knew he was merely a scapegoat. So I decided to play along, to see what you were truly up to. You definitely didn't take the body for money, for necromancy, or to pacify a house. Someone put you up to this, didn't they? Speak, or today no one can save you. At this moment, I opened my demon eyes, and the strength in my hand involuntarily increased. Just then, I noticed the peace amulet around her neck began to shake. I frowned. Before I could withdraw my hand, the blades and spears were pressed against my neck, waist, and head. Someone had set up an altar to summon the 5 ghost generals and their troops. I glanced over. Liu Wang and the others had all fainted by the roadside. The next moment, a rough, armored hand gripped my wrist, pulling my hand away from Liu Kui's chin. I tilted my head, clearly seeing the shadowy figure, and the smirk played on my lips. I knew someone proficient in magical arts was behind this, and they arrived quickly. It seems Liu Kui must have offered him incense frequently. Liu Kui was ecstatic. "Master, Master, you finally arrived. Save me." "She wants to kill me." Before her stood a tall, thin man in a black Taoist robe. He stared at me, his triangular eyes gleaming with malice. "Granny Nine flatters me. Is this all the troops I have?" I assessed with a glance, a hint of disdain appearing on my face. "Barely over 100 spirit soldiers." "You don't need many soldiers, just skilled ones." Knowing that you don't have spirit troops for combat, I had to snatch the person from you. Without any preparation, I wouldn't dare to come. Please, don't blame my sneakiness. Truly, your reputation is too great. The man chuckled, gently waving his hand, and the ropes binding Liu Kui automatically untied. "Go, drive the car. Your husband and son are waiting for you." Hearing this, Liu Kui hastily kowtowed 3 times and ran towards the truck. "Granny Nine, I've been very presumptuous today. But as for old Liu's body, I definitely cannot return it to you. It's rare to find one like this. Burying it as is would be such a waste. After all, he's already dead. Why not refine him into a zombie? It would surely yield the greatest benefit. Granny Nine, if you're willing to negotiate, I'm willing to offer other things in exchange. Even if you're not, please don't move. These 5 ghost generals' troops are quite reckless, and blades have no eyes. It would be unfortunate if you were hurt. Once she's gone far, we will naturally leave. Granny Nine, please make things easy for us." The tall, thin man spoke softly, one hand gripping my wrist, his other hand always hidden in his sleeve, clearly on guard. I smiled. "You're not going anywhere." At this moment, Liu Kui had gotten into the truck, but the vehicle seemed unable to start. No matter what, the engine wouldn't turn over. "Master, the car won't start. What do we do?" Liu Kui's words reached us, and the tall, thin man frowned. The moment he was distracted, I suddenly curled my pinky inward and roared, "Spirit arrow!" A ray of light pulsed from my chest and spread out. This is my spiritual weapon, the bronze yin-yang arrow. 1 arrow for life, 2 arrows for death. Move and cut him down. In the tall, thin man's eyes, a flicker of fright appeared, and he immediately ordered the 5 ghost generals' troops to act. But it was too late. I felt a slight pain in my neck, and the 5 ghost generals' troops who tried to intercept me with their weapons were instantly dispersed, their souls scattered by the spirit arrow. Jianzi, beat to him, just as I saw the tall, slender hand of that man about to emerge from his sleeve. I turned my wheelchair and threw out a paper figure. The paper figure transformed in the wind into a long-haired female ghost, instantly pouncing on the tall, thin man, embracing his head and biting at it. I seized the opportunity to retreat to a safe distance, pulled 2 talismans from my pocket, threw them into the air, and formed a hand seal. I told you, your paltry troops aren't enough. You like to show off your forces, do you? I'll show you what troops really look like. By decree, I summon the Ghost Kings, Ghost Commanders, Ghost Generals, the Civil Judge of Fengdu, Kui Shu, the Martial Judge, Shong Kui, Oxhead, and Horseface, Zheng and Zhu, the Black and White Guards of Impermanence, along with the 6 legions and 18 divisions, 3,000 spirit soldiers, heed my command. As the incantation finished and the seal was formed, the 2 talismans in the air immediately vanished. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Silhouettes in armor on massive horses instantly appeared behind me. These were the 3,000 ghost generals and spirit soldiers. Before them stood Kui Yu, Zhong Kui, Oxhead, and Horseface, the Black and White Guards of Impermanence. These are well-known and fearsome great powers of the Underworld. Each radiated an overwhelming aura, murderous intent instantly surging. Little Jade, calling so many people, did you find a world-shocking demon or a 10,000-year-old weeping ghost? Little Jade, don't be afraid. No ghost can withstand the mournful staff of your 7th brother and me. Little Jade, 3rd brother, 4th brother will help you. I clasped my hands at them, smiling wryly. My dear brothers, don't get agitated. It's no world-shocking demon, nor a 10,000-year-old weeping ghost. It's just a display of numbers. The tall, thin man looked at the 5 ghost generals' troops beside him, clad in straw cloaks, holding various blades, spears, staves, and weapons, not even a shred of courage to resist. Is she trying to bring the entire underworld here? I tried to overestimate Granny Nine, but I still underestimated her. The more than 105 ghost generals' troops behind him frantically discarded their armor, threw down their weapons, and knelt in unison. I've never liked to show off my troops in spiritual combat, but not liking to use them doesn't mean I don't have them. Is this enough? Do you like it? Do you warm? I rolled my wheelchair, stopping 10 paces in front of him, and smirked. Granny Nine, I, your humble servant, was blind. No need for those empty words. I spoke softly, turned my wheelchair, and commanded, kill the man, and escort his soul to Fengdu for punishment. As for Sitao, he dared to snatch a body from my grasp. He surely has many other secrets. The moment my words finished, the tall, thin man turned into a streak of light, attempting to escape. Rows of ghost soldiers and generals raised their bows, drawing their strings taut, pulling them to their fullest extent. Under the moonlight, arrows rained down from the sky. The tall, thin man was instantly turned into a porcupine. After the ghost generals and spirit soldiers departed, I rolled my wheelchair. Before I even reached Liu Kui, she had already collapsed to her knees, perhaps having lost her support. At this moment, facing me, she could no longer be defiant. Granny Nine, spare my life. Granny Nine, spare my life. I don't need the body anymore. I'll personally admit my mistakes in front of relatives and friends. Please don't kill me. I was just momentarily confused. My young son suffers from night terrors, and our family business is doing worse and worse. That Taoist priest told me I could use my father's body to pacify our house, to change our family's fortune. That's why I did it. I have my own hardships, Granny Nine. He prepared all the coffins, not me. I was only responsible for swapping the two coffins. Granny Nine, you cannot use the affairs of the dead to judge the living. Please. My son is still waiting for me to save him. I silently watched her, letting her kowtow until her head bled, not a single muscle on my face twitching. I only asked her one question. Did you know about swapping the old chief's body for a dead pig? She paused, a flicker of hesitation in her eyes, then continued to kowtow. The new coffin had already been sealed when it arrived. How could I know? I let out a breath and shook my head. Liu Kui, I vaguely remember that when I was young, before you married, you even took me up the mountain to pick fruit. But now you have changed too much. You've become full of lies. Shameless, unrighteous, unfilial, selfish, and self-serving. You should never, ever have touched the old chief's body. You're not sorry. You're just scared. Your wickedness prevented the old chief from resting peacefully. You must bear this karma yourself. No one else may die, but you absolutely must. This is to mend humanity and to perfect the way of heaven. After speaking, I raised a lightning talisman and slowly turned around. Oh no! A clap of thunder struck, and Liu Kui was blasted by 5 lightning bolts, her soul scattered. Beside the truck, the spirit of the old village chief emerged, gently caressing his own coffin, weeping uncontrollably. Very quickly, the old village chief's body was reburied. Liu Kui was buried with him, but this time only Liu Wang attended the funeral. Liu Ming had been beaten by him, breaking his limbs and rendering him crippled. It was only then that I learned the Taoist priest appearing before Liu Kui was not by chance. It was all orchestrated by Liu Kui's husband. Liu Kui's husband's family had generations of ties with these evil practitioners. In recent years, their family fortune had declined. Their son suffered from night terrors, not to mention their business was almost bankrupt. Liu Kui's husband, at his wit's end, sought out the evil practitioner who gave him this idea. Liu Wang himself investigated this matter. I heard that day, if no one had stopped him, he would have nearly beaten Liu Kui's husband to death, and after being dragged away, he even burned down their house. But despite such a commotion, Liu Kui's husband still dared not utter a word, paid 600,000 yuan in compensation, and left far away, vowing never to appear again. I don't know if Liu Kui's husband's family had married her because they had long coveted the old chief's blessings, planning to use them later to change their fortunes. On the day of the burial, I visited Liu Wang. His hair had turned completely white. I told him to be a good person and to never gamble again. He showed me his hand. On it, a pinky finger had been severed, demonstrating his resolve to quit gambling. But quitting gambling is not so easy. I quietly instructed the paper figure in my pocket. Jinxi, follow Liu Wang. If you find him at a casino, scare him. Then I quietly lit 3 incense sticks and placed them on the old chief's grave. Old chief, the leaves have returned to their roots.